This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're kicking off hour 2 of Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM channel 158, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app, wherever you're watching or listening. We appreciate you hanging out with us. 1 hour in the books, another great hour on deck. We'll have VSiN's own Josh Appelbaum stop by in just a little bit. Get the market breakdown on the Monday Night Football doubleheader we have coming up on deck. Bucks, Texans, Raiders, Chargers. We also had a really good breakdown on the Los Angeles Chargers from Fernando Ramirez in hour 1 of the program. Remember, if you ever miss any of the show, you can always download Money Moves in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. He gave a couple potential prop betting angles for tonight in that one as well. We'll discuss these games. We'll have best bets at the end of the hour. Remember, as well, if you want to chime in any of the conversation today, tweet at us, at MeJVT for Jonathan Von Tobel, at Storm Buonantony, at VSiN Live. And we got a couple tweets, JVT, already here.
James, did you read this? No, you didn't. Wanted to contribute to Call Me Crazy. Said, call me crazy, but you need a microphone to be a sideline reporter.
Wow.
For those who weren't with us over the weekend
James.
and who would maybe miss this, I accusatorily, I think, came at you and said, can you have a normal game for once? You had forgotten your microphone for your halftime hit. Was that it?
Yes, I gave the explanation. So it was Minnesota and Cal, and when Minnesota comes out of the locker room, anybody who's watched a game that involves PJ Fleck, the dude is sprinting out of the locker room every time. He runs up and down for the quarters, interviews, and all of that stuff. So I had to be in position on the other side of the field to get some halftime comments from him for my hit coming out of break. And I left my microphone at my table on the other side of the field. Chaos ensued to an extent where this wonderful, really nice security guard named Nicholas ended up sprinting across the field to go get my microphone for me. But at that exact moment, my audio technician, Joel, was already walking past around the field to bring it to me. So the running was for naught, but it made air. And this video, this clip on Awful Announcing has like 2 million views now.
You don't have
this poor guy sprinting across the field to try to get my microphone.
I'm surprised you don't have
nice.
a belt clip for that thing.
I've never really thought about that, to be honest with you. I just hold it in my arm.
But I'm surprised, look into that. There's belt clips. You can put that on.
Just have a dangling microphone.
That's right.
Game.
I mean, it would help you, I think. JT checks in at Speed to Burn. I like this one. We were talking about, for those who weren't with us, the news, J.J. McCarthy injured. The wording from Pelissero is week to week, which I think is somewhat troubling because it's not day to day. Either way, not expected to play this weekend. At Speed to Burn checks in and says, I'm not sure Wentz isn't better than McCarthy. Which, I think it's fair. We had this weird noise from all these Vikings fans that we were about to see the birth child of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady take the field in week 1, and we didn't really see it. And now we've got 7 quarters out of 8, which have been very below average quarterback play for McCarthy. I don't really think there's that much of a downgrade. To go back to the point of where the market is at right now for Minnesota and Cincinnati, it's 2.5 across the board. I would roll with that, and I think that seems relatively cheap given, again, there's lots of injuries there, but that is something that is definitely worth looking at. And then Brad checked in as well and asked if this was me with my notebook, and it was a picture of the Colts owner, Carly Ursay-Gordon, taking notes on the sideline.
Identical.
That's right.
Identical. J.J. McCarthy, just to follow up that thought, 158 pass yards, 2 picks, his 6.2 total QBR, the lowest by a Vikings quarterback since Bridgewater in 2015. Also sacked 9 times so far this season, second most in the NFL, second only to Cam Ward, who has been taken down 11 times. So McCarthy was one of the big injuries. Also, we got an update on Jaden Daniels, who apparently is dealing with a knee. Not expected to be serious, but his potential to be out on Sunday. Apparently that's in jeopardy as well. We talked at the start of the show about the impact of no Joe Burrow for at least the next 3 months as he recovers from a grade 3 turf toe issue. Jake Browning will start in his stead. Justin Fields is in concussion protocol for the Jets this week, and Brock Purdy's status still in doubt with a toe injury as well. So a lot of big quarterback news here, only week 2 of the NFL season. Now, that said, those games are still upcoming for week 3. We are not done with week 2 yet. So let's discuss a little bit of the 2 games we have coming up tonight. The first game of the Monday Night Football doubleheader, Bucks and Texans, 2.5 point spread with Houston favored at home, total 42.5. We have seen a move to the under on this game, opened 46.5, now 42.5 as I mentioned. This number with the public jumping in today, though, the books are getting some over money again, it appears. And then when you look at the VSiN bet splits, which by the way, if you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, you get unlimited access to all of this stuff. We have data from DraftKings Sportsbook where you get get the more public perspective and Circa here, where we're broadcasting from, where you get those sharp bettors and the bigger bets that come in. The Texans getting at DraftKings 35% of the bets today, but 69% of the handle. Circa more of a split, 42% of bets, 48% of the handle.
Yeah, so for Tampa Bay and Houston specifically, this is our last leg of millions for our own contest entry. So that's something. We have the Buccaneers. I think that's the side. Again, we can kind of infer at least that there's no rush in the market to lay that 2.5. It's been out there for most of the week. And again, it's 2.5 minus 120 and minus 115, as you have mentioned. I think you're still worried about this Houston offensive line. We say
No
it all
doubt.
the time, but it seems that when he's in shotgun or if he's taking a snap from under center, it is snap and sprint because there is pressure almost every time for C.J. Stroud. And we saw that in the first week. He was pressured on over 40% of his dropbacks, and that just makes for an offense that is not cohesive. They don't look like they can run the ball effectively either, and I don't think that's going to happen here against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think from the standpoint of where are these two teams at, do you think that the Houston Texans are better on a neutral than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? For my money, I say no. So I like Tampa here in this spot. You can also use them in a teaser leg as well.
Which I do. That's the closing leg of a teaser I have in play.
So this could be the open leg, if you will, because you have Tampa Bay. There's a couple of teasable options for you next week. Again, if you're at a place where you feel like the price is palatable for you, use Tampa Bay and, for example, tease down Seattle. They're at home against New Orleans next week. They're 7.5-point favorites. Get that down through the 7 and through 3. So that's going to be something. The total there, 41.5, so pretty low game is there. But I think those are some options to attack it because this is just a pure number thing. I thought this should be about 1, not to 2.5. So took a shot with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we'll see what happens.
And you talk about the bad offensive line. They're also without their starting center, Jake Andrews. He is out. Christian Kirk is out at the wide receiver position. This is a Texans offense that put up 9 points last week. No points scored in the second half. C.J. Stroud's lead receiver was Jaden Higgins, who had 32 yards. Nico Collins had 3 catches on 5 targets for just 25 yards. That offense was not doing much. And then you have a Texans defense on the other side that's really good. So I do lean to the under. I think that move on the total was probably correct. I don't know if you're in the business of SGTs. Same game teasers ever instead of SGP, same game parlays. If you wanted to tease the total up potentially and take an under and pair that with the +8.5, I'm just saying it's an option if you want to get a little weird and have some fun.
Get freaky on a Monday.
Still worth noting for the Bucs, no Chris Godwin or Tristan Wirfs.
Yep.
I did want to mention this nugget, and I know these things don't mean a lot to you, JVT. But it stood out to me.
You're about to tell me on a Monday when the house is in the 7th sun that the Buccaneers since 2006 are like 7-0 on Monday Night Football?
Not that deep, but
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Remember how he used to give all this hate to Kirk Cousins?
Remember? Yes, I do.
For how he performed on primetime. That narrative started to go away, and we shifted it to Daniel Jones. Can't perform in primetime. You know who's got a rough primetime record?
Baker Mayfield?
Baker Mayfield. 9 straight primetime starts. He has lost 1-7 straight up on Monday night, including 7 straight L's.
Okay.
Does that hurt your heart a little bit when you go into this game?
Not really.
I still stand by everything that we've said. We're very pro Buccaneers. We're very pro Baker Mayfield. But I read that this morning, and I didn't like it.
When I hear trends like that, I just want to know, okay, so then what is the reason? If you can give me a legitimate reason why a short sample primetime trend would matter. Because here's the thing. Baker Mayfield has also played on some really bad teams.
Absolutely.
So
no doubt about it.
I think among them, I would assume included in that is he won the game. But like the game in which he was on the Rams for 2 hours and then went out there and started the game and then won it against the Las Vegas Raiders on a Thursday night, if you remember, I would assume that's included in there. It's a primetime game. So I don't really buy it, I guess.
Okay. Just wanted to put it out there. Just get that information on you. By the way, guys, Monday Night Football does get better with Brocco. Every NFL player prop, if you're looking to get involved in those markets, -110 instead of the inflated -120 you might see in other places, giving you more value on every play. And you can get Brocco's welcome bonus when you use our code VSiN, VSIN, for a 50% deposit match for up to $100 for new users, plus monthly rewards whether you win or lose. Sign up today. Start betting smarter at playbrocco.com. Chargers Raiders also going head-to-head today. Los Angeles laying 3.5 on the road here at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. Total 46.5. Those bet splits again at DraftKings, 71% of the bets, 66% of handle on the Chargers. And here at Circa, 53% of bets, 58% of the handle on Los Angeles, 77% of the handle at DK, and 68% of the handle at Circa flipped here. So you have a lot of the bets at DraftKings on the over, the bulk at Circa on the under. Do you have any feel on the total? Because I know you like the Chargers today, but how do you feel about the total?
No, I didn't really think too much. I mean, a slight lean toward over, nothing really strong. When we were talking about this earlier with Fernando Ramirez, who covers the Chargers, if he's right in his assessment of the secondary still having its own issues, and I'm right about the way the Chargers might attack this, and they can still generate offense if they're going to attack this front seven for the Raiders, you could see some points here today, and again, in a friendly environment in that it's inside. So I have a slight lean, but like nothing really crazy here. I feel strong. I feel more strong. Stronger? I feel stronger about the Chargers. Again, we go back to it. A lot of people. Raiders. And this hasn't really moved off 3.5. I kind of believe that this Raiders team is pretty flawed defensively, so we will test the theory this evening.
One thing, health-wise, I know there were questions about Brock Bowers, who left the Week 1 game. On the latest injury discussion, Pete Carroll implied that he expects Brock Bowers to go. Looked great at practice. He's been practicing with a sleeve on that knee, not a knee brace, so I think that is notable. 5 catches, 103 yards, and just over 2.5 quarters of action Week 1 against the Pats.
We should note that Pete Carroll did break a whiteboard this weekend to motivate his team. It has been reported.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was, why am I blanking?
He allegedly kicked it, by the way, which makes me think, was the whiteboard on the floor, or did he roundhouse kick like a whiteboard on wheels?
Who was the Texas college basketball coach? Who?
You talking about, well, I don't know about that. Was it Chris Beard?
Chris Beard,
Yeah?
yes. When
Okay.
he was at I'll think this through in the commercial
you're
break.
going well.
But
It's going well.
he broke his wrist smashing a whiteboard at one point, if you remember.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to take a timeout when we come back. We're going to shift gears, get into a little college football, but plenty more on this Monday Night Football header with Josh Appelbaum and our best bets at the end of the show. Don't go anywhere.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
DPAC 48 with the clutch tweet at us. Quote, "I got you, girl. What color do you need?" With a handful of different potential microphone holstering options for me on the sideline moving forward.
I'm really surprised that's not part of the repertoire here. That you
Never even
rock.
thought about it. I told you, when we have cold weather games, sometimes if I have like a big puffy jacket,
Sure.
I'll put the microphone in the jacket to hold on, and then I have my hands free. But largely, no. I
Are you
just
gonna,
hold it.
Are you going to ask your crew? You should ask your crew about this
Well,
and
you
see if
need
you
to
can
have-
get a clip of some sort. And this is, to me, it's not so much, you're going to be judged by your latest failures. This is not, I think you're a fool and you're always forgetting your mic. I think it's more of, I feel like I need 2 hands at once. Granted, I have not done as many as you in his big profile. As somebody who's also worked sidelines, Stormy.
Yes, of course. Of course.
I very much preferred having my hands free so I could write stuff, do stuff. And I would hang my setup was not as technologically sound as yours, but I would just hang mine in the back pocket.
Yeah, a lot of girl clothes don't have pockets, as you know, as well.
Right.
So that's another challenge that I feel like we have to go through. Sometimes if I have a good deep pocket in a suit jacket, I can do it that way. But, we're workshopping it. We're going to think of some better options to have my hands available when I need them.
And your microphone.
Speaking of college football, though, let's get into a couple things. We haven't mentioned yet on today's show, but we had 2 head coach firings already over the weekend at UCLA and Virginia Tech. So Deshaun Foster and Brent Pry both out. And I think for UCLA, the start of this season was just unacceptable. If you are a Bruins fan, if you have been somebody that believed in this team, especially when you do bring in a quarterback like Nico Iamaleava and you have all of this expectation for how maybe he could change the way that things look, to get blown out in week 1 and then start the season 0-3. Deshaun Foster, I believe they're 5-10 in his brief tenure to this point. So he is out. And I think that was, neither one of these fires was particularly unexpected, but tough to know that we are already seeing coaches be fired 3 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I think it's the way that you lost this game. And now coming up next, you have to go to Northwestern. But the fact that you gave up 450 yards and 298 on the ground, over 6.5 yards per attempt to New Mexico. I actually think Jason Eck is a pretty good coach. There's a strong argument to be made that Eck in New Mexico is already the second best coach in the Mountain West. Obviously, it depends on what you think of Spencer Danielson, but if you really evaluate all these coaches at this point, and maybe you give Dan Mullen an edge just because he's done it for a long time, the whole point here being is that New Mexico is a well-coached group, so it's not like the worst thing in the world to lose to a team like that. It's the way you lose that, and just the way it's looked at this point right now for UCLA, a team that's been pretty lost on both sides. And Nico Iamaleava, thank you, has been very disappointing, and maybe that's largely due to his own play, but you got to think you can get more out of a dude that a year ago we thought was one of the more talented quarterbacks in the country, let alone just on the West Coast or in the Big Ten or whatever it is. So one would think that maybe with better leadership that you're going to be able to get something going at this point for UCLA. Because Foster was also doing the weird stuff. Wasn't he at one point, didn't he cut out player interviews with the media? Like he was doing so much off the field stuff.
Which was, at least from a media perspective, I'll say particularly frustrating because Lincoln Riley already does that at USC. Mm-hmm. And it feels like that's, albeit small, but an opportunity to get your program a little bit more love, that you're willing to be friendly with the media, have your players do so. So when he cut that out, I know that was another kind of point of contention.
And to me, it's not so much like you're not letting them. It's to me, it's you're focused on the non-important things.
Right.
And how about you focus on a team that is struggling? How about you're doing this? And that really has not been the case. So I don't think it's particularly surprising for either of these teams. I know we're focusing on UCLA, but for either of these moves at this point.
One brief follow-up to this conceptually. If Billy Napier loses at Miami, which probably will, is he done? Is that enough to start 1-3, losing 2 games to in-state opponents, knowing that the rest of this schedule is a gauntlet anyways? Do you just get him out and start the search now?
I mean, maybe. The problem with Napier that's not the same with everybody else is it's a buyout of $19.4 million. I mean, maybe in today's day and age, that's not that much.
If you look at the rest of the schedule, right? At Miami, against Texas, which what is that going to be?
Sure. Well, who knows what that is?
Yeah. At Texas A&M is going to be difficult.
Good defensive
Mississippi
team.
State is much more plucky than anyone would have anticipated.
Yeah.
Georgia in early November. Ole Miss questionable. Tennessee much better than people expected. Florida State much better than people expected.
Yeah.
That is a brutal schedule, which we knew coming in, but to already start the season on this foot. And if you're going to end up firing him anyways, do you just do it now so that you can get ahead of this process?
Yeah. I mean, you can.
Just asking the question.
The problem, the problem is there are reports that DJ Lagway is so tied to Billy Napier. It depends on what you still think of Lagway, but he was not good. I mean, it's funny. We come out of this weekend, and I think you have legitimate questions of should DJ Lagway, should Avery Johnson, should these guys that at one point we thought were very highly touted quarterbacks, should they even be their starters for their teams as they move forward?
My Avery Johnson Heisman take has aged like a moldy cheese. Okay, we have.
I saw it popped up on my feed, but I saw a great TikTok of an ESPN college football sideline reporter.
It's me, thank you. Okay,
touting
and that's
Avery
enough.
Johnson.
That's enough of that. We already know.
Hey, by the way, let us not forget either, I'm on the verge of going 2-0 in our show bets because I already got our Stanley Cup. And I think we have a little Dylan Raiola versus Avery Johnson season bet that is hanging out in the balance. So just throwing that out there, too.
All right. On that note, let's do some housekeeping here. Time for rapid fire, going through some of the early moves in college football from the openers yesterday to today. And do you approve this move?
Odds move up, odds move down. Let's see where the odds are moving today in Do You Approve This Move?
Okay, let's cruise through this. Enough of that Kansas State Avery Johnson talk. Let's stick with the Florida-Miami theme because we have seen Miami getting played here early. Opened 8.5 now to 9.5 point favorites against Florida.
I mean, I think it could be anti-Florida. It's weird. You see the market move with Florida last week. It gets blown up in your face. Now it moves against it. But I think this is more pro-Miami than anything else. Hurricanes are quietly proving with their play on the field that they're legitimate. Obviously, just blasting through opponents left and right. Big win over USF, and you could sit there and say, who cares? It was a bad spot. After a weird rain delay, just took care of business. They look strong along the lines of scrimmage. Carson Beck looks really good. So I think this is probably a downgrade of Florida, but I think this is more of the market kind of coming around on what Miami might be. Actually, not might be. Is the best team in the ACC and maybe one of the better teams to contend for a national championship.
You know who else has looked really good? The TCU Horned Frogs.
Yep.
And they are laying a touchdown hosting SMU this weekend. Opened 5.5, and they were quickly steamed up.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. First off, like you've talked about, TCU and what we have seen from them up to this point, I think you do have some questions when you look at SMU. From a defensive standpoint, look, we've only seen 3 games, but not the most dynamic showing against Missouri State in a 28-10 victory against Baylor. We'll call it a like-rated opponent. Your defense looked pretty poor, and you blew a game there, let them come back and win that contest. So I think that you are fair to have some questions for SMU and at least respect TCU enough to say, you know what, at home they should probably be laying a key number here.
Surprised to see Miami of Ohio getting the love they are against UNLV. 0-2, just got blown out by Rutgers. UNLV 3-0 start.
I don't think so. So first off, let's do the totally unfair exercise. New Mexico went out there and mollywopped UCLA. You barely kind of got by UCLA, and they had a shot to come back and win that game. So that's just one thing. I think the other is, as somebody who's watched these games quite a bit for UNLV, against more competent competition, I think this team is talking about a poorer resume. But you've played Idaho State, we've seen them play Sam Houston State, and then, of course, UCLA, and still, in 2 of those 3 games, kind of scuffled. I think that now to ask them to go in a true road spot like this against what I would call a competent program, after potentially being upgraded through the first 2 weeks of the season, I buy it. Like, I was hoping, move pretty quick, but if you got 3 with Miami, maybe it'll come back. I think that's the side. I agree with it.
Let me just cruise through a few of these, and you tell me if any stand out to you. East Carolina getting some love against BYU. Out there in the Carolinas from 9.5 down to 7.5-point favorites. Illinois from 2.5-point favorite out to 4 at Indiana. Or other way around, excuse me.
Yeah.
Indiana out to 4 against Illinois. Wyoming, Colorado. This is the game I will be at in Boulder, but Wyoming getting a little bit of love here. Colorado, a 15.5-point favorite at open, down to 12.5. Texas Tech, Utah, one of the marquee games of the weekend in our view. I know. Utah opened a 4-point favorite. A little love for the dog here, down to 3.5. Thoughts on that one specifically?
I mean, it's hard. It's a sleepy spot playing up in a tough place like Laramie. You get off to the slow start, a bunch of red zone trips, just turned into field goal attempts, missed field goals, everything for Utah. But they're very good. I think the offensive line protection is great to protect against some of those edge rushers for Texas Tech. These teams are too close to equals to one another. So if you're going to give 3.5 for home field, I think it makes some sense that you maybe push this down, but would lean toward Utah to get this done. But no big edge, I think, in the number. Oklahoma
out from 4.5 to 6.5-point favorites hosting Auburn, and the USC Trojans from 14-point favorites out to 17.5 hosting Michigan State. That offense has looked great to start the season.
Have you started any prep? Colorado, Wyoming?
No.
Okay, I was going to ask you.
I mean, I did watch the game on Friday, and so it wasn't a great start.
No, it was not. No. Well, that's the other. I mean, the quarterback position for Colorado, what do you do? Are we going to see 2 of them again in Caden Salter? And why am I blanking on our third-string quarterback?
Ryan Staub.
Thank you very much. That's going to be a whole can of worms because defensively they're already not a good team, and now you don't know who your quarterback is. Yeah, watch that game live. Was not particularly impressed. I will be diving into that prep for the game as soon as we are off the air today, actually. Okay, we have to step aside. When we come back, VSiN's own Josh Appelbaum is going to join us, give us the market insights for the Monday Night Football doubleheader and an early look at Week 3 in the NFL next on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Monday edition of Money Moves coming at you live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. I'm Stormy Buonantony. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Keep the tweets coming at me, JVT, at Storm Buonantony, at VSiN Live. Coming up in the next segment, we'll react to a couple of your guys' thoughts. But for now, we've got Monday Night Football coming up tonight, and it's not one game, but 2 with the doubleheader on ESPN. And to help us get some market insights, excited to welcome in our good buddy Josh Appelbaum on the Progressive Guest Line, like we do each and every week here on a Monday. All Systems Go podcast. You can follow him on X as well, at Josh_insights. And let's jump right in, Josh, to the first game of the 2 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Houston Texans. We've seen this 2.5 hold pretty steady here, but I know there's been movement on the total. What stood out to you?
Yeah, Stormy, JBT, great to be with you in both games tonight. Number one, thank God we have a Monday Night Football doubleheader. Brings me back a little bit, Stormy, to the weird COVID days when you had like doubleheader Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesday games. So I'll take it. But both games, to me, really great contrarian opportunities. 1 dog, 1 favorite. So if you're looking at this one, what jumped out to me right off the bat, and you really hit the nail on the head, Stormy, this line has stayed pretty steady here at Houston -2.5. Now, a lot of books open Texans -2.5. You had a couple books open Texans as low as -2. But the really important thing to me, the fact that this line hasn't moved, combined with the fact that the public is all over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I get it. Tampa Bay obviously had a big win there against Atlanta in week 1. You look at Houston, they're coming off a loss straight up against the Rams. And the public says the wrong team is favored, quote unquote. You're getting right now 66% of spread bets taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the points. So if the public's all over this trendy dog here, why haven't we gotten down to 2, 1.5, 1? Why hasn't this line kind of moved and fallen, plummeted toward a pick 'em? The fact that it stayed right where it's at, pretty much -2.5 in favor of Houston, and you also have a few shops that are really juicing up the Houston side, the unpopular side, the -2.5 at -115 or so. That tells me there's liability on the Texans here in a fade the trendy dog spot. Houston has a great contrarian opportunity. They're only getting, at this point, 34% of spread bets, but 71% of spread dollars at DraftKings. And where you guys are at Circa, 43% tickets, 53% dollars, also on Houston. So we're kind of building a case here. Public's all over Tampa, yet the line hasn't moved toward Tampa. It's staying steady with Houston. Low bets, higher dollar splits. You also look at these non-conference matchups, guys. When you have two teams, two different conferences, typically you kind of let the cream rise to the top. The better team, the favorite, performs better in this spot, especially on the money line. If you're a non-conference favorite, just winning the game straight up, you're 4-1 so far this year. You're 115-50, 70%, 4% ROI since 2017. Now, I think a lot of people would just say, hey, you're confident Houston lay the points. Guys, there have been so many games where I lay a 2.5, short number, missed kick, 2-point conversion, something weird happens. You lay a 2.5, they win by 1 or 2. So if you want to save the juice, I'm laying it with Houston here, but I'm going to go Texans money line, guys. The fact that you can mitigate some risk here at DraftKings, they're only -130. And again, public's on Tampa, you've stayed steady on Houston. That looks like a line freeze to me. So I'm going to back Houston in a desperate spot. I'm going to fade the trendy dog Buccaneers tonight.
All right, what about Monday Night Football out here between the Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers? What are you seeing?
Yeah, this one's interesting, JVT, because it's kind of a line freeze in the same situation. But in this case, I'm going to take the contrarian dog. I like the Raiders and the points here, especially getting the hook here with the +3.5. You can shop around. And the other thing you can do is pay attention to the juice. Like, the juice is not moving up toward Chargers like they're going to go up -3.5 up to -4. No, it's juiced toward the Vegas side +3.5, like between now and kickoff at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Maybe we get down to 3. Now, that's also important to me because the public side is not the Raiders, the trendy dog at home. No, it's actually public going with the Chargers the other way here. We all remember week 1 opener in Brazil. Chargers looked great. Herbert looked amazing. They take down the Chiefs. So I think you're getting a lot of that public sentiment, still just saying, hey, this number's too low. Harbaugh, Herbert, they'll get this done, win by 4 or more. But we pretty much opened -3.5 at most shops with the Chargers. So the fact that this hasn't gotten up to 4 or 4.5 or 5, we've stayed right where we're at, and we're juicing up the Raiders side, tells me some liability here on the Raiders plus the points. They are a number 1 contrarian play tonight, only getting 29% of tickets in a heavily bet primetime game. Then you get into some system matches here. Divisional dogs, built-in familiarity, levels the playing field. They're covering 54% of the time, 4% ROI since 2020. Primetime dogs, they're off to a 5-1 start. You had a really sharp move with Atlanta yesterday where public was Vikings, yet that line continued to plummet toward the Atlanta Falcons, and they came through. Those primetime dogs now 54% against the spread since 2020. And here's another one for you. I think you go on gambling Twitter, it's always Mike Tomlin as a dog, which is true. He's the number 1 dog coach in the NFL, active head coaches. But who's number 2, guys? It's Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll with his time from Seattle and then had that win outright against the Patriots, getting 2.5 in week 1. Pete Carroll is 53-34 ATS, 61%, 18% ROI as a dog coach. So I'm thinking, maybe Chargers win by 3, but if you give me a really unpopular dog, line freeze, Harbaugh good as a dog coach in a divisional dog, primetime dog spot, I'm going to take +3.5 here with the Raiders.
And JVT, we talked about Pete Carroll, that whiteboard motivation, smashing it. I was right, by the way. So Chris Beard, when he was the head coach at Arkansas Little Rock, Sun Belt Conference Tournament, homeboy broke his hand bashing the whiteboard.
Left Arkansas Little Rock for what job?
For Fresno State. For UNLV for a couple of weeks.
Yes, right.
It was
for
like,
a week.
What was it, 11 days or something like that? I had the Texas coaches in my head for Rodney Terry and Chris Beard. I was like, oh, yeah, Fresno State. No. But yes, UNLV, short-lived. Let's look ahead to week 3 here, Josh, because I know there is an early line move that has caught your attention.
Yeah, Stormy, I think, kind of once you get to Monday Night Football, you get your final sweats, but let's look ahead to the upcoming week because I think as a bettor, you want to, pick off some hooks and some key numbers early in the week so that later in the week you're feeling good and hopefully beating some closing lines. One that really jumped out to me is a rematch here of the NFC divisional round playoff game from last season where the Rams went into Philly, put a bit of a scare into them. I believe they covered the +6.5. I think they lost by 6. There was an epic backdoor touchdown late from the Rams in that playoff game. But this is one of the early moves that really caught my eye because Philly looks great. They cashed a nice dog to fave line move yesterday against the Chiefs. Probably wasn't as close as the final score kind of showed there because you had that late score by the Chiefs. But this spot really jumped out to me that Philly opened this game at home around -4.5. We're down to 3.5. And not only are we down to 3.5 in favor of the Rams, but if you look at the juice at some books around the market, they're really juicing up the Rams side +3.5. -115. So the initial move, as soon as this line came out, wise guys said, hey, let's hit the Rams. Maybe that line is a little bit too high. You're down to from 4.5 to 3.5 and juiced up. Like maybe you give it a couple days. Does this get down to 3? You look at the splits right now at DraftKings, 47% of spread bets are on the Rams, but 89% of early spread dollars. So anytime you see kind of that low bets, higher dollar line moving in the same direction as the splits, that tells me early money came in their side. You also look at here's a system match, guys. There's only 2 matches. The other one is Arizona and San Fran. But week 3, both teams are 2-0. Take the dog. That's 58% against the spread over a big sample, around a 20-year sample size. And if that dog is getting 3 or more, it improves to 65% against the spread. So maybe you got some mojo, some belief from the Rams side from what they kind of hung tough, kept it close that divisional round game. Early move here is toward the Rams. I'm looking at maybe taking Stafford +3.5 now, thinking a few days from now it might be down to the key number of 3.
All right, Josh, before we get you out of here in the last 2.5 minutes, we've had a couple of quarterback injuries that have come down. Most notable ones, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy. How do your systems work when you get this bit of news that will alter a line?
Joe Burrow was big, too.
Joe Burrow, obviously, yes.
Yeah, Burrow's the big one here. That really jumped out to me, too. You had, obviously, Minnesota coming off the loss last night. They were as low as -1.5. I believe they jumped as high as 4.5, 5. That thing settled down a little bit. Come back a little bit down toward Browning. So that thing is sitting, I believe, right now around -2.5, 3 in favor of the Vikings. But JVT, I think the first thought when a guy goes out is just, hey, bet against that team. But I wouldn't, unless you can jump on that move immediately and get a good number, I almost feel like you should maybe go the other way. Let the whole week of public narrative, ESPN, media sentiment hammer the fact that, hey, this starter isn't playing. The backup, maybe they'll say he's decent, but most of the time you'll see in the JVT, this in the NBA, LeBron's out. Lakers go from -3 to +6. Typically buying low, taking the dog, the inflated dog at a better price is kind of a buy low opportunity. So I'm going to let the dust settle. Again, unless you got these numbers early, maybe you got Minnesota -1.5 and you're feeling great right now. Other than that, I would kind of let these lines go as far as they can go and maybe consider buying low on the backup at a better price.
Case in point.
San Francisco 49ers
Boom.
last week go from 7 to 4.
Throw it up and knock it down.
Play the 3, win by 5. There you go. Josh, you're
Mac
awesome.
Jones
Thank
did
you.
it again, man. Mac Jones, unbelievable.
Mac Daddy. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Josh Appelbaum, everybody. Make sure, if you haven't already, check out the All Systems Go podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. What are you sending me now?
That's me and you right there. You don't remember the iconic Wade
beautiful.
LeBron alley-oop?
That's beautiful.
That's right. I threw it up. You slammed it down.
Anything for you. We're teammates. We're teammates.
At times.
Sorry about that. After what you wrote to me on this piece of paper.
That was a jerk move. You knew what I was talking about. Big developing news here. Ken Rosenthal has spoken publicly.
Oh, what's the word?
I don't know. I got to watch the clip. I got to watch the clip in the. For those who haven't, just go to Twitter and search Ken Rosenthal. Absolute brilliance.
We will touch on this when we come back because I have to know what is the apology and is it written out on a piece of paper? I need to know all of this. So we will get into that. We'll read your tweets as well and our best bets as we wrap up this Monday edition of Money Moves. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will be right back on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
And these Monday shows always go by so fast. Welcome back as we wrap things up here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got best bets coming up in a couple minutes.
Speaking of, How quickly did yesterday go for you?
So fast. Honestly, I was very pleasantly surprised. So for anybody who doesn't know, make sure you come hang out with us on Sundays. JVT and I host the final hour leading up to kickoff of the early window of NFL games, countdown to kickoff. And then we're on the air for another 3 hours after that with Live Bet Sunday, talking through all of the potential live betting opportunities that are on the board as all those games go on. I was very anxious about it because, coming back from my games on Saturdays, 4 hours on the air talking, am I going to have the energy? Is this show going to drag? It went by like that. It did not feel like 4 hours. We had a ton of fun yesterday. I'm
going to have to take a quick aside. We're going to have to play this because this just popped up on my Twitter feed. We got to discuss this tomorrow because we are hearing from Liam Cohen today. So have you seen this whole thing?
On the interaction with Trevor Lawrence?
No, something different. So have you seen this Brian Thomas Jr. deal?
No.
So Liam Cohen, after the game yesterday, alleged that Brian Thomas Jr. had a wrist injury going into yesterday's game, which then was a reason as to why he did not perform particularly well. The problem being, and I'm looking at the clip right now, so we'll have to see what this says afterwards. We can talk about it. I don't know if you know this. Guess who wasn't on the injury report yesterday? Brian Thomas Jr. So 4 catches, 49 yards on 12 targets, not particularly efficient on the targets. If we're really doing this, so you either lied and hid an injury from the injury report, something you're not allowed to do, or you're lying again to make up for the fact that your offense completely crapped the bed in the second half against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, couldn't do anything, and that's why Brian Thomas Jr. wasn't doing particularly well. So something to worth discussing.
Either way, not great. Yeah. And then, but I know they've downplayed that interaction with he and Trevor Lawrence, but Lawrence, kind of putting his hand up, passing him off when he's clearly fired up and angry on the sideline for a play in the middle of the game that's just, who cares? Move on to the next play.
Well, I think, now, I could be wrong. Again, we have to go into this a little bit more, or I'll have to look into it. JVT finds out. Was that
that needs to be your new Twitter handle. Forget me, JVT.
Yeah.
Just make JVT.
No, me, JVT is pretty good. I can't give that up. I can't give that real estate up. If I remember correctly, the play in question when he was telling him, when he was doing the, in the chest, I think he was talking about a pass that was to Brian Thomas.
Yes.
Right? And so I think the thing there is, hey, he's injured. You know that. Don't put a ball up where he has to go and get it. Put it in his chest so that he can use his body to catch it.
Okay.
So I think that was the whole dynamic at play, which is what is leading to this whole, hey, what was going on with BTJ? Oh, he was injured.
We also had Derek Ginn tweet at us and say, Stormy, did you give props to JVT for the Baltimore pick since you were so high on Dallas? Yes, let it be known. We talked about this a lot yesterday. It was nice to have the way that Baltimore played to extend that lead the way they did against the Browns versus what everyone had to do sweating out the Dallas Cowboys. But Cowboys did still win. End of the day.
Yeah, no, it's funny. We keep getting these reactions. We've talked to a couple of people about this, and we've had some social media interaction like, should you thank me? I mean, you would have been right at the end of the day. I just would not have been happy.
It was not good.
Yesterday we had a good show because eventually the Ravens pulled away and the Cowboys were losing pretty much our entire show. I was in a really good mood. I would not have been happy throughout that entire show watching that go down.
Very contentious on the desk.
Every break would have just been me muttering, I knew it.
And
I knew it.
Everything I just said, too, about how much fun we had, how fast the show went by, would have been out the window.
Would have been agonizing. Absolutely.
Another one here. So this is good, and this kind of leads us to our final Monday Night Football thoughts. We've got 2 games on deck, Raiders, Chargers, as well as the Bucs and Texans. Bucs, Texans, the first one, which we talked about this last week. I do really like that these Monday Night Football games are separated, that we get to watch them each as their own standalone, and there's not overlap. But he quote tweeted a clip from Pro Football Talk citing an interview with Baker Mayfield from a week ago, talking about how he doesn't like playing in night games. Quote, I'm personally not a fan of later games. By the end of the work week, you're like, okay, I've seen enough tape. I can't watch any more of this defense. I'm not going to learn anything new at this point, because if I learn something new, I obviously didn't do my job throughout the week. It's just that long playing the waiting game on game day. I'd rather wake up and go play. And so that has, I guess, a little bit of credence from what we discussed earlier, just with his poor record overall in night games, that he's lost 9 straight in prime time, 1-7 straight up on Monday night, specifically losing 7 straight in that span. So thank you, DGen Southern Gent, for sending along that tweet. But it is notable, just goes along with the narrative a little bit. But to your earlier point, too, obviously how he has played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has been different than time past. The spread 2.5 in this game. I don't have any additional bets, JVT, but this is a teaser leg for me. I had the Bills just to win against the Jets, never in doubt. So hopefully that foundational leg is able to get home.
Talk about falling for the candy there.
Taking the Bucs up from 2.5 to 8.5. Yeah, that was a tough one because I feel like they did you dirty with how good they looked offensively week 1 against the Steelers. But now obviously we have a different viewpoint with which we look at Pittsburgh defensively from that.
So I've got 3 to add to the dock, if you will.
Go.
The 3 that I've bet. Buccaneers plus 2.5. We talked about it. Chargers minus 3.5. I'm going to do it. I feel like there's a matchup there that can be exploited. I'll play on my prior beliefs that this is going to be something that the Chargers can get away with.
I think I might tail you because I agree. I like the Chargers. Or now do you not like it anymore?
No, I just mean last time that happened, I watched Avery Johnson puke all over the field against Arizona. So maybe our
okay, should I stay off of it just so I don't
just kidding.
jinx you?
I don't think it has.
I don't want to be bad.
I think it has any power on the outcome.
Because I know you believe in vibes, so
I don't think it has any power on the outcome of an event that is happening miles away from us. So Buccaneers plus 2.5, Chargers minus 3.5, and then I did add 1 for week 2 or for week 3. I think this is going to flip in this direction. It's already starting to do it. I took 1 with the Patriots at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see that the Steelers get a little bit healthier, but it sounds like Christian Gonzalez could potentially be back for this game, so that's going to be good for New England. And again, I'll just go back to a couple of points. First of which is, I think these two teams are closer to equals to each other. I'm not that big on the Steelers. I paid a bet against them the first 2 weeks. I'm going to do it again one more time here. I think the Patriots deserve to be favored at home in this spot against them. Go back to not all Aaron Rodgers' fault, but he's not played as well as especially that first week would indicate. And I think you have to be worried about this Steelers defense. Again, two sides of the ball, 23rd and 29th, respectively, in EPA per play through 2 weeks for the Steelers. That might not be them entirely, but I think with Gonzalez coming back and the Patriots playing at home after a win, I think they can get this done. So let's go. The Patriots plus 1 at home. I think they go off as like 1.5 point favorites.
Yeah, Steelers given up 30-plus points each game so far this season, 6.3 yards per play, ranking 29th in the NFL, what that defense has allowed. Yep. Also, Cody Betts Football tweeted at us, where do you place your SGTs? Because, yeah, I do. I like an SGT every once in a while. Same game teaser for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah. I said today, and I didn't do it, but if we do think that this Houston defense is as good as they are, the offense struggles as much as they do, that potentially bringing the Bucs up to 8.5 like I have with my other teaser, and then bringing the total up to 48.5 and taking the under could be something you put together. I bet them at circa pretty often. You also can adjust it. You don't have to do a 6-point teaser. You can do a number you feel comfortable with, higher or lower. And then, let me do some pay the bills here real quickly, but then I have one more that we had to follow up from last segment. Our best bets, as always, presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. And remember, GBank is built with sports bettors in mind. Right now, you can earn $50 in cashback rewards once you're approved, and your account is open with a GBank Visa Signature card. While most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances, even when it's your own money, GBank treats them as regular purchases, so no cash advance fees, saves you 3 to 5% on every deposit. You get 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cash back on everything else you buy. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. But JD in Florida said Rosenthal is no Ali, but dang that stare afterwards, talking about what we went to break with about this Ken Rosenthal video from the Brewers game the other day. And we did watch the apology in the commercial break. For anyone who missed it, he was getting the Gatorade pour at the end of the game, doing the post-game interview. He runs into the photographer, which he runs into the photographer, mind you. Like, the photographer's doing nothing wrong. He's just in his position many feet away from where this interaction is happening. Rosenthal just stares him down. Mm-hmm. We see the apology. What was your thought on it?
I thought it was disingenuous. Got caught. He looked like a jerk. Just apologize. You don't have to say, oh, we were on national TV. Just apologize. I didn't handle it right. I was rude to him. I should probably be better with my interactions behind the scenes further.
And then he says, he's like, I apologized profusely afterwards. Maybe he did, but didn't come
across well.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
But we should also note, I'm going to throw this out there in the last 60 seconds, because it was a phenomenal sports weekend. Boxing, do it again. Just put it on Netflix. Yeah. I watched it. It was a good fight. It was a good card. Crawford kicked Canelo's ass. It was absolutely great. I will say this, though. You tried really hard boxing. You tried hard to do what you usually do. In no world was that a 115-113. That was ridiculous. There was 2 cards that had them tied going into the championship rounds. Asinine. You weren't watching the fight. That was ridiculous, but a good fight overall.
I will also, to close this out, say Arash Markazi, awesome job on his handicap because he had Crawford by decision. He said, whichever outcome you want by decision is the way to go.
Oh, and one more thing. We have a new podcast starting tomorrow.
Beautiful. Yes, real quick, hit it.
Yeah, Mitch Moss and I will be debuting. We'll be recording our new episode. Wyatt, one of our producers, will be helping us. Pod to the Futures, all about futures, updating them week to week, everything like that, every sport in between. Look for the first inaugural episode. That's redundant. It's the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Really looking forward to it. Speaking of Mitch Moss, he and Paulie Howard are coming up next on Follow the Money. Warren Sharp on the show today to break down week 2, give you insight into betting angles for week 3. And I hope the guys give him props. Jake Tonjes, Warren and I both got home with him and his receiving prop with the 49ers. Have a great day, everybody.